Today I want to talk about investing off the plan. And so many of you are aware that that's a strategy that works really well depending on the market conditions and how you execute that. And equally, I'm aware that many people are very scared of that strategy, worried about the risk, and therefore they don't do it. And like everything in life, guys, knowledge is key. Understanding the pros and cons and how that might fit well into your strategy. So what are we doing with off the plan? We're entering into a contract today, but the property is not going to be built for some time, 6, 12, 18 months out, maybe even 2 years. We would generally recommend not going too far out, but 18 months is pretty typical. What are the benefits of investing off the plan? You're securing a contract today, preferably in a rising market. And so let's say we buy in at say 500,000 today, that property won't be built for another 18 months. The market's continuing to increase during that time, and we're picking up that wealth before we've even owned it. And then people say an interesting comment to make, oh, I don't want to do off the plan because I'm not doing anything. I want to get started now. Crazy thinking. If you put down a 10% deposit, so for 50,000 in that example, you are doing something now because your 50,000 is growing as that property increases. So when you settle, you paid 500, let's just assume it's worth 600, argument's sake. You put 50K down and you've made $100,000 in that time by doing nothing. And so you were active in the market even though you didn't yet own the bricks and mortar. That's just a simple example. But there are nuances with every strategy and getting it right. So location of where you buy your property is key. Where you need to be in high supply and demand areas that support that type of property. And probably the strongest and most important aspect is the credibility of the developer behind the complex. We as a business work with developers or builders, etc., who have strong credibility, have high track history in terms of having built before, good quality of stock, they finish on time, the contracts are sound to protect both parties. So there's lots of things to understand about it, but it's not a reason not to do it. Just understand the information, apply the strategy as it fits you. Also understanding finance. Financing off the plan is completely different than if you're financing a property you're settling tomorrow. So anything that settles more than 6 months out, you will not get a pre-approval for. That is not a reason not to do the deal. We just need to understand what you could, if you could settle this deal based on today's circumstances, where your risk factor is, what buffers you have, and exit strategies for the future. Often we'll hear about a building that might have been sold off the plan 2 years ago. Now it's settling, and you might see some things in the media about, oh, people can't settle and it's a disaster. There's always going to be a few people that couldn't settle later on. Their circumstances have changed. We understand that. And when we work with our investors, we make sure they understand the risks and they have a very clear exit strategy at the end. So that's not a disaster. In many cases, they've got a great result. It may not be the result they intended to get on day one, but if they've walked away from that transaction and made a profit, they're very happy. So for us, off the plan is part of an overall portfolio. You're going to have an existing property, maybe do some development, house and land, some off the plan apartments as well, and have a really rounded and robust portfolio. But like everything, as I said at the beginning, knowledge is key. Understand the nuances, the pros and cons, be sure about your contracts, be sure about your finance, and be sure about the credibility of your developer. And I believe you'll have a great result. We for last year, for example, there's some off the plan stuff in Auckland for our clients. It's still 6 to 12 months away from settlement. We're seeing massive gains in that market. So our clients are sitting there watching that value grow, very, very happy, having put down just a small deposit to secure that. We'll talk about this and many other strategies at our property investment night. Look forward to seeing one of those soon.